I am Arjun Gupta. I'm an author and a mental health blogger, and today I'm in collaboration with the Scribble Thoughts in order to answer some of your questions about depression. So let's get started. The first question is, what exactly is depression? So, depression is a mood disorder which is marked by a persistent low mood or hopelessness, guilt, and other feelings which make it impossible or very difficult for us to do the things that we usually did, like work or interacting with people in our social life or other things that we usually did. It basically affects our function. Now, the question that you may ask is, isn't depression just the same as sadness or stress? Well, it's not. So, depression is an illness, whereas sadness and stress are everyday emotions that we feel almost at some point. Almost everyone feels at some point of their lives. So, sadness is something we feel when we are down low, when we hear some bad news, or in other situations. Stress is something we feel when we feel like the situation is more demanding than we can perform. So, when in an exam we feel like we're not prepared and the situation demands more than the resources we have, that leads to a situation of stress. Depression, on the other hand, is a serious mental disorder which can be caused by persistent sadness, persistent stress, and it can lead to feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, as I just said, and a very huge difficulty in our social and daily functioning. What are the causes of depression? So, the causes of depression are threefold. So, first, biological. The biological causes of depression include our genetics and our neurotransmitters. So, people who have someone in their family who was suffering from depression, it's likely that they will be depressed as well at some point of their life. The next is the neurochemicals, which we hear about so often that there is a chemical imbalance in our brain, there's not enough serotonin, which leads to a feeling of depression. There's something wrong with our biochemistry, there's nothing wrong with the people. It's not a matter of personal choice or weakness. The second factor is psychology. The psychology of a person is a great predictor of whether they will have depression or not. The thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and the behaviors we have, they determine whether we are depressed or not. The thought patterns that we have, how we perceive things around us, how we learn things around us, our memories, all these things contribute to depression. And the last and the most important and the most well understood one is the social, wherein the society around us, the environment around us affects how we understand everything. It helps us understand, it affects us. So, things like exams or unemployment or other things, there's so many things that can affect our psychology as well as our biology. And you should understand that all these three things happen at the same time. They are not independent from each other, but they are interrelated. And we should always understand depression as an interaction of these three. Now, what are the signs that you may be depressed? First of all, you have been sad for more than 2 weeks. That is the first criteria that you can think of. So, if you have been feeling low, if you haven't been feeling stressed for more than 2 weeks straight, then there is a chance that you may be depressed. If you have been having feelings of worthlessness, hopelessness, self guilt, blame, self blame, all those things, if they have been persistent for more than 2 weeks or a bit longer than that, it is proof that you may be depressed. You should go get it checked. Now, another question that comes up is, what if it goes away in a few days? Well, these things happen. These things, these feelings, these thoughts, they come in and they go. If it stays there, that's when we know it's a problem. If it just goes away in a few days' time, then it's not a big deal. It's normal. That just means you're human. Now, last and the most important question, where do we go if we need help? The first thing that I need people to understand is self acceptance when it comes to depression is the biggest barrier. People are not always willing to accept that they have depression because they feel that they may be perceived as weak, as seeking attention, or as just generally uh, incompetent. So, self acceptance is the first thing. But then, once there is self acceptance that this is an illness of your mind and it is not who you are, then you can go to a therapist, you can go to a psychiatrist, you can go to a clinical psychologist. But it is important that you make sure that your clinical psychologist and your psychologist have the right qualifications, because there's loads of pseudotherapists around who just like to put the name of counselor next to their name when they don't have the necessary qualifications. So always do your research and always be open to seeking your help. And in such a situation, I can't really suppress the role that our family and our social systems have. Support from and acceptance from the people around us is one of the most important things in getting treatment and getting better from depression. It is not something that cannot not be overcome. It is not something that is a way of life, and it is not something that is a part of your identity. You are more than your illness, and you can get through this. Thank you so much.